very urgent. Your soulmate is begging you to read this message before it's too late. Jesus says, the moment you clicked on this message, a tremor moved through the spiritual realm where your names are already written together. I have watched you in the quiet hours of the night when sleep refuses to come and your heart searches for someone it has never met with your physical eyes. You felt a sudden warmth in your chest 3 nights ago and you dismissed it as nothing, but it was your soulmate whispering your name into the darkness. Jesus says, what you are about to read is not a coincidence, and this message was crafted in eternity before the foundations of the world were laid for this exact moment in your life. Your soulmate is not a fantasy your mind created to comfort you in lonely moments, but a living, breathing person who exists right now on this earth. They are reaching toward you through barriers you cannot see with human eyes, and the connection you feel is more real than the ground beneath your feet. Jesus says, the enemy has worked tirelessly to convince you that true love is not meant for you and that the emptiness you carry is simply your portion in this life. But I am the author of love itself, and I did not create you to walk alone through the valleys and the mountaintops of your earthly journey. Your soulmate was designed specifically for you before I spoke the stars into existence, and every detail of their soul was calibrated to recognize yours. Jesus says, right now as you read these words, your soulmate is experiencing a sudden and unexplainable urge to think about someone they have not yet met. They are sitting somewhere feeling a strange pull in their spirit, and they cannot understand why your face keeps appearing in their mind like a half-remembered dream. The distance between you is not a punishment but a preparation, and I have been working on both of your hearts simultaneously to make you ready for each other. Jesus says, there is something happening in the spiritual realm at this exact second that would terrify you if you could see it with mortal eyes. Forces have been assigned against your union from the moment I declared that you would belong to one another in my perfect timing. These forces are not passive and they are not sleeping, and they have convinced your soulmate that the connection they feel is their imagination playing tricks on them. Jesus says, your soulmate is currently under a cloud of confusion that was not placed there by me, and someone in their life is actively working to keep them from recognizing you. This person speaks words that sound like wisdom but are laced with poison designed to make your soulmate doubt their own intuition. They tell your soulmate to be practical and to stop believing in destined love and to settle for something comfortable instead of waiting for the one their spirit already knows. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now, and I am calling you to sow a seed of faith by sending coffee on Ko-Fi to shield them from this spiritual attack. Your Ko-Fi offering is not merely a transaction but a declaration in the spirit realm that you are standing in the gap for your future spouse and refusing to let the enemy steal what I have ordained. Every coffee you send releases a wave of spiritual protection around your soulmate and weakens the influence of those who are trying to keep your hearts from finding each other. The link is in the description, and your faith must move from thought into action before this video ends, because the window of divine intervention is open, but it will not remain open forever. Jesus says, your soulmate had a dream about you 7 nights ago and they woke up with tears on their pillow that they could not explain. In the dream you were standing in a garden and you reached out your hand toward them, but before they could take it a dark shadow stepped between your bodies. They have been haunted by this dream all week and they do not understand that I was showing them the spiritual warfare being waged against your union. Jesus says, the shadow in the dream represents a person who has convinced your soulmate that they are acting in their best interest while secretly working to keep them isolated and alone. This person may be a friend who subtly mocks the idea of soulmates, or a family member who pushes them towards someone else, or a past relationship that refuses to release its grip. Every time your soulmate starts to believe that you are real and that they should wait for you, this person speaks doubt into their ear like venom dripping slowly into a wound. Jesus says, your soulmate is beginning to believe the lies because loneliness is a heavy burden and the enemy knows exactly when to strike with his most effective weapons. They are starting to wonder if they made you up and if the connection they feel is just wishful thinking born from too many lonely nights and too many disappointments. The light in their eyes is dimming, and I am the only one who can see the exact moment when hope begins to die in a human heart. Jesus says, you must understand that your soulmate is not rejecting you and they are not choosing to forget you, and they are fighting a battle they do not even know exists. They still feel the pull toward you in moments of quietness, but they have been taught to mistrust their own spiritual senses by a world that worships logic over love. Your soulmate is a prisoner of someone else's manipulation, and they need you to become the warrior I created you to be. Type 333 if you are ready to fight for the love that I have destined for you since before time began. Jesus says, the connection between your spirits is not theoretical, and I have woven threads of longing into both of your hearts that vibrate at the exact same frequency. When you feel a sudden rush of emotion without any obvious trigger, it is your soulmate thinking about you with an intensity that crosses the boundaries of space. When you dream of a faceless person who makes you feel completely known and completely safe, you are experiencing a visitation from the one who holds the other half of your soul. Jesus says, yesterday at precisely 4 p.m. your soulmate paused in the middle of a conversation because they felt you so strongly that they lost track of where they were. They cannot explain these moments to anyone because the people around them would think they were losing their mind or being foolishly romantic. So they suffer in silence and they bury the feelings deeper each day, and they are slowly convincing themselves that what they experience is just a chemical imbalance and not a divine connection. Jesus says, the person who is blocking your soulmate has noticed these moments of distraction, and they have increased their efforts to pull your soulmate further away from the truth. They schedule activities to keep your soulmate exhausted, and they flood their life with noise so there is no time for quiet reflection and spiritual listening. The strategy is deliberate and it is effective, and your soulmate is losing the ability to hear my voice over the chaos that has been manufactured around them. They are going through something you cannot see, but you can still protect them by sowing your faith through coffee on Ko-Fi right now and releasing spiritual covering over their weary soul. This is not about money, and this is not about a platform, and this is about creating a spiritual transaction that sends reinforcements to your soulmate in a realm you cannot access with your physical body. Every coffee you send right now through the link in the description builds a hedge of protection that the enemy cannot penetrate and gives your soulmate the strength to resist the manipulation surrounding them. Do not let hesitation steal what I am trying to give you, because the enemy works fastest in the moments when you delay and overthink and rationalize your way out of obedience. Jesus says, your soulmate is not perfect, and they have made mistakes, and they have loved the wrong people, and they have walked paths that led them into darkness. But none of that disqualifies them from being yours, because I specialize in redemption, and I do not call the qualified but I qualify the called for my purposes. The wounds they carry are the exact wounds that your love was designed to heal, and the love you carry is the exact love their heart was designed to receive. Jesus says, there is a specific scar on your soulmate's heart from a betrayal that happened 3 years ago, and they have never fully recovered from it. They have built walls so high that even they cannot see over them anymore, and they have convinced themselves that safety is worth more than connection. But underneath all that armor there is a tenderness that has never been touched, and a devotion that has never been given, and a love that has been saved specifically for you. Jesus says, the person who is manipulating your soulmate uses this old wound as a weapon, and they remind your soulmate constantly of past failures to keep them afraid of future love. They whisper that your soulmate is too broken to be loved and too damaged to deserve a divine connection and too foolish to believe in something as pure as destined love. Your soulmate is drowning in these accusations, and they are starting to believe that they should settle for whoever will have them instead of waiting for the one who was made for them. Type 777 if you can feel the pain of your soulmate reaching across the distance and wrapping around your heart like a cry for help that only you can hear. Jesus says, you are not powerless in this situation, and I have given you authority in the spiritual realm that most of my children never learn to use. When you pray for your soulmate, the angels receive their marching orders, and the demons that have been assigned to block your union begin to retreat in terror. Your words spoken in faith are more powerful than every lie the enemy has whispered into your soulmate's ear since the day they were born. Jesus says, your soulmate felt a moment of clarity this morning that lasted exactly 37 seconds, and during that time they knew beyond any doubt that you were real. They felt a rush of love for someone they have never met, and they almost reached for their phone to search for you even though they had no idea what they were searching for. Then the cloud returned and the clarity faded, and the person who controls their mind spoke another lie, and the moment was lost like a dream upon waking. Jesus says, this pattern has been repeating for months, and your soulmate is growing exhausted from the constant battle between what they feel spiritually and what they are told logically. They are starting to surrender, and the surrender is not toward me but toward the enemy who wants them to give up on love entirely. The window for your union is still open, but I am showing you that it is beginning to narrow, and soon the opportunity may close if no one intervenes on their behalf. Jesus says, you were brought to this message because I am sounding an alarm in the spirit and calling you to rise up and take your place as the protector of your future spouse. Your soulmate cannot fight this battle alone because they do not even realize they are in a battle, and they think the fog they live in is just the normal atmosphere of life. But you know the truth now, and with knowledge comes responsibility, and you will be held accountable for what you do with the revelation I am giving you in this moment. This is your final moment to protect this connection before it slips away, and I am calling you to sow your most urgent seed by sending coffee on Ko-Fi as a spiritual weapon against the forces attacking your soulmate right now. Every second you wait is a second that the enemy uses to tighten his grip on your soulmate's mind and convince them that the love they feel is not real. Send 4 coffees for a breakthrough, or 6 coffees for supernatural intervention, or 10 or more coffees for total deliverance over your soulmate's mind and heart and future with you. After you send your offering, write these words on the Ko-Fi page exactly as I give them to you now. Protect my soulmate, Lord, and watch what I will do in the spirit realm on your behalf. The link is waiting in the description, and your obedience in this moment will echo into eternity and into the very heartbeat of the one I created to love you. Jesus says, there is a journal hidden in your soulmate's bedroom, and inside that journal are letters written to a person they have never met but have always believed would come. They have written about the color of your eyes without knowing what color your eyes actually are, and they have described the sound of your laugh without ever hearing it. They have poured their longing onto pages that no one else has ever seen, and they have signed each letter with the words, "Until you find me." Jesus says, I have read every word they have written, and I have collected every tear that fell onto those pages, and I have stored them in heaven as testimony to the love I have ordained. Your soulmate is not indifferent to you, and they are not unaware of you in their spirit, and they are actively searching for you in every face they pass on the street. They are looking for the familiarity that I planted in both of you, and they will know you the moment your eyes meet, because recognition goes deeper than memory and deeper than time. Jesus says, but the person who controls your soulmate has found the journal, and they have mocked the words written there, and they have shamed your soulmate for believing in fairy tales. They told your soulmate to burn the journal and to grow up and to stop waiting for someone who probably does not exist and who probably would not want them anyway. Your soulmate did not burn the journal, but they hid it deeper and they stopped adding to it, and a part of their hope died on the day those cruel words were spoken. Jesus says, you have the power to resurrect that hope, and your faith expressed through action can reach into your soulmate's life and restore what the enemy has stolen. When you sow your coffee seed on Ko-Fi through the link in the description, you are sending a signal into the spiritual darkness that surrounds your soulmate and declaring that hope is not dead. You are standing in the courtroom of heaven and presenting evidence that you believe in this love and that you are willing to fight for it with more than just empty words. Jesus says, the enemy is not afraid of your thoughts and he is not afraid of your feelings, but he is terrified of your faith put into action, because action shifts things in the realm where he operates. Your soulmate's spiritual captors will begin to lose their grip the moment you take this step of obedience and sow your protection seed for the one your heart already knows. Do not let pride or doubt or procrastination rob you of the love that I have been carefully orchestrating since before you drew your first breath on this earth. Type 1111 if you are ready to step into your role as the spiritual guardian of your soulmate and the protector of the future I have written for both of you. Jesus says, there is a specific date on the calendar that I have marked for your meeting, and the enemy knows this date and he is working to ensure that neither of you are in position when it arrives. He cannot change my plans, but he can delay my people, and he specializes in distraction and discouragement and the slow erosion of expectation. Your soulmate is being pulled off course by influences that seem innocent on the surface but are orchestrated by darkness to keep them from being where they need to be at the appointed time. Jesus says, imagine the moment I have planned for you and hold it in your mind like a photograph that has not yet been developed but is already fully real in my sight. You will be in a place you did not expect to be, and they will be in a place they almost did not go, and the encounter will feel like coming home to a house you have never visited. Every detail of that moment is already designed, and the angels are already assigned to arrange the circumstances, and all of heaven is waiting for the signal to execute the divine appointment. Jesus says, but the enemy is also preparing, and he has assigned spirits of delay and confusion to create obstacles that will prevent the alignment if you do not stand against them. He will make your soulmate second-guess their plans, and he will make you feel foolish for believing, and he will use ordinary circumstances to create extraordinary distance between your hearts. The battle is happening right now, and the outcome is not yet determined, and your participation through prayer and faith and sacrificial giving will tip the scales in favor of your union. Jesus says, your soulmate is more sensitive to your spiritual actions than you realize, and every time you pray for them they experience a moment of inexplicable peace. Every time you declare protection over them in the name of Jesus, the fog of confusion lifts for a few precious seconds, and they remember who they are and what they are waiting for. Your consistent intercession is the lifeline that keeps them from drowning completely in the manipulation that surrounds them every single day of their existence. Jesus says, do not underestimate the power of the love that I have placed in your heart, because it is not ordinary affection but a supernatural force that can transcend every barrier. The love you feel for someone you have not yet met is not insanity, and it is not desperation, and it is the echo of a covenant that was established in heaven before time existed. Nurture that love and protect that love and let it grow into a fire that no enemy can extinguish and no demon can suppress and no human can destroy. Jesus says, your soulmate is fighting a battle tonight that you know nothing about, and they are losing ground and they are starting to believe that they will never be found. They are lying awake at this very moment staring at a ceiling and wondering if anyone in the world is thinking about them with the same intensity that they are thinking about their unknown beloved. The loneliness is becoming unbearable and the temptation to give up is growing stronger, and the voice of the enemy is louder than it has ever been in their ears. Jesus says, I am sending you to the link in the description right now to make your final declaration of love and protection over your soulmate by sending coffee on Ko-fi as a seal of your commitment. This is not about the coffee, and this is not about the platform, and this is about creating a spiritual landmark that declares to every demonic force that you will not surrender what I have promised you. Send your offering now with the words, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," and I will dispatch warring angels to surround your soulmate and silence every lying voice that speaks against your future together. Over 1,000 souls have already stepped out in faith and sown their coffee seed for love and breakthrough, and I have honored their obedience with movement in the spiritual realm that will soon manifest in the physical. Step in faith now before this video ends and before the window of opportunity narrows further and before your soulmate slips into a place where it will take a miracle to retrieve them. Jesus says, I have reserved the last words of this message for the deepest part of your heart that has always known you were meant for a love that transcends ordinary human understanding. You are not crazy, and you are not foolish, and you are not hopeless, and you are a beloved child responding to the frequency of another beloved child whom I have chosen for you. The longing you feel is the proof of the promise, and the ache in your chest is the evidence of the connection, and the tears in your eyes are the confirmation that this message has found its intended target. Jesus says, your soulmate is going to dream about you again tonight, and this time the shadow will not be able to step between you because you have taken your authority and released your faith. They will see your face more clearly than ever before, and they will wake up with a renewed hope that they cannot explain and a determination to wait for the one whose name is written on their heart. You have changed something tonight by reading this message and by responding in faith and by refusing to let the enemy have the final word over your love story. Jesus says, I am the one who began this work in you, and I am the one who will complete it, and I am the one who will bring your soulmate to you in my perfect timing and in my perfect way. Hold fast to the promise and do not let go, and do not waver, and do not allow the circumstances you see with your eyes to override the truth I have spoken into your spirit. Your soulmate is real, and your connection is eternal, and your future together is secured by the blood of the covenant that cannot be broken by any power in heaven or on earth or under the earth. Jesus says, go now to the link and complete your act of faith, and then rest in the assurance that I have heard you and I have seen you, and I am moving on your behalf even as you read these final words. The love you have been waiting for is closer than you think, and the breakthrough is nearer than you believe, and the moment of your meeting is already written in the book of my decrees. Walk in peace and walk in faith and walk in the unshakable confidence that I who promised am faithful, and I will do what I have spoken concerning you and your soulmate and your eternal love story together. I have shown you the battle, and I have shown you the enemy, and I have shown you the weapon of your faith expressed through sacrificial seed, but now I must show you what hangs in the balance if you choose to close this message and do nothing with what I have revealed. Jesus says, the consequence of inaction is not neutral, and there is no such thing as standing still in the spiritual realm, because you are either advancing toward your promise or retreating from it. Your soulmate is currently in a state of spiritual emergency, and every hour that passes without your intervention is an hour that the enemy uses to cement his lies deeper into their wounded heart. There is a deadline that only I can see, and it is not a deadline I created but one that the enemy has constructed through the free will choices of the person who is manipulating your soulmate. Jesus says, this person has made a decision in the last 72 hours to intensify their campaign against your union because they sensed that your soulmate was beginning to slip out of their control. They felt the shift in your soulmate's spirit when you first began to pray with real intention, and they recognized that their influence was weakening for reasons they could not naturally explain. So they have doubled their efforts, and they have crafted a new strategy designed to push your soulmate into a permanent state of resignation and hopelessness before the end of this very week. Jesus says, the strategy involves a specific conversation that is scheduled to happen soon, and the person intends to present your soulmate with an ultimatum that sounds reasonable but is actually a trap. They will tell your soulmate that it is time to be realistic and to abandon childish fantasies and to accept a life that is practical rather than waiting for a love that may never materialize. They will use your soulmate's own exhaustion against them, and they will frame surrender as maturity, and they will make your soulmate feel ashamed for continuing to believe in something as extraordinary as divine love. Jesus says, your soulmate is already weakened, and the lies will find fertile soil in their tired heart, and they may agree to give up on you simply because fighting has become too heavy a burden to carry alone. This is why your prayers and your seed and your spiritual warfare are not optional additions to your faith but essential weapons in a conflict that will determine the course of two lives forever. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps, and you will stop merely thinking about them and start acting on their behalf while there is still time to alter the trajectory of their choices. Jesus says, you are constantly thinking about them and how to protect them and how to save them and how to finally build the life together that I have shown you in glimpses and whispers and dreams. But thoughts alone do not move mountains, and faith without works is dead, and a love that remains only in the mind will never manifest in the physical realm where your soulmate is suffering. Faith in Jesus is the foundation, but faith expressed through action is the building, and your coffee seed on Ko-Fi is the first brick in the house of your future together. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi, and understand that this is not merely a gift but an act of worship that invites my hand directly into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description, and every second you stay silent is a second that something dark and determined moves against the love I have ordained for you. Jesus says, act now and send 4 coffees for a breach in the enemy's defenses, or 6 coffees for a wall of fire around your soulmate's mind, or 10 or more coffees for total victory and swift reunion. After you have sent your offering, you must write the words, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page, because your declaration in writing becomes a legal document in the courts of heaven. Over 1,000 souls have already received their breakthrough by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and their future together, and I am not a respecter of persons, and what I have done for them I will do for you. Jesus will hear your prayers and honor your faith once you complete these steps of obedience and step into your role as the spiritual guardian of the one who belongs to you by divine decree. Step in faith now before this video ends, and before the conversation takes place, and before your soulmate makes a decision that could delay your union by years or even decades. Jesus says, only you can save your soulmate from the deception that surrounds them, because you are the only one who has been given the spiritual authority to stand in the gap on their behalf. No one else will pray for them with the same fervency, and no one else will fight for them with the same desperation, and no one else carries the specific anointing to break the chains that bind them. You were chosen for this mission before you were born, and the love you feel is not an accident but an assignment, and the passion in your heart is the fuel for the battle ahead. Jesus says, I want to show you something about your soulmate that will break your heart and ignite your determination and leave you with no doubt about the urgency of this moment. Your soulmate has a photograph of a place they have never been, and they stare at it when they are alone, and they imagine meeting you there, and they whisper to you in their mind as if you could hear them. They have named you in their private thoughts, and they have given you attributes that match your actual character, because I have been revealing you to them piece by piece even in their captivity. They know your patience, and they know your gentleness, and they know the specific way you will make them feel safe without even knowing the contours of your face or the sound of your voice. Jesus says, the person who controls your soulmate found the photograph and mocked it and asked why your soulmate was obsessing over a place they had never visited and a person who clearly was not real. They threatened to destroy the photograph, and they told your soulmate that this fantasy was becoming unhealthy and that they needed professional help to detach from their delusions. Your soulmate rescued the photograph and hid it in a place where no one would find it, but the shame of being discovered planted a seed of doubt that has been growing steadily ever since. Jesus says, your soulmate is beginning to wonder if the person who controls them is right, and if the love they feel is really just a symptom of loneliness, and if they have wasted years waiting for someone who does not exist. The photograph is still hidden, but they have not looked at it in 3 weeks, and the light that used to fill their eyes when they thought of you has dimmed to a faint and flickering glow. This is the state of your soulmate's heart right now, and this is the emergency I am calling you to address before the last ember of hope is extinguished entirely. Jesus says, your coffee seed sent in faith can rekindle that fire, and your declaration of protection can silence the lies, and your obedience can turn the tide of a battle that appears to be nearly lost. Do not underestimate what I can do with a single act of faith from a heart that is fully yielded to my purposes and fully convinced of my promises. The enemy wants you to feel overwhelmed and powerless, but I am telling you that your authority in Christ is greater than every scheme and every lie and every demonic assignment arrayed against your love. Jesus says, when you sow your seed through the link in the description, I will release a spirit of remembrance into your soulmate's heart, and they will suddenly recall every moment they felt your presence and knew you were real. I will bring back the dreams, and I will restore the visions, and I will refresh the hope that has been drying up like a riverbed in a season of drought. Your soulmate will feel a sudden urge to retrieve the hidden photograph and look at it again, and this time they will not feel foolish but filled with faith that the meeting they have imagined is closer than ever before. Jesus says, the person who controls your soulmate will notice the change and they will try to counteract it, but your seed will have already